Okay, so here's the answer to that problem that I left you with at the end of the first video. Now, given the midpoint and one endpoint, you can use this midpoint formula to find the other endpoint. And let me give you an example of that. So if I know one endpoint, then I know this much of that formula, right? I know all of that is in there. I'm going to add these other points to it. But I can find this point, the X and Y of the second point. If I can find that second point from the midpoint. So this is the point that gives me the X of the midpoint, and this gives me the Y of the midpoint right here. Now keep that in mind as we go on to these last two problems in the packet. So one endpoint is 2, 5, and the midpoint is negative 1, 3. So this negative 1, 3. Take that midpoint. And that's equal to, what was the first endpoint? This is our x1, y1, 2 and 5. 2, 5. Plus, what's this x? Plus, what's this y? And you can solve both of those. And they have the same steps every time. So I'm going to multiply both sides of this by 2. Do the same thing over here to get rid of that fraction. Rids both of those fractions. Then I've got 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2, is equal to 2 plus x. And then I got 2 times 3, which is 6, is equal to 5 plus y. So when I subtract this 2 from both sides, I wind up with x is negative 4. When I subtract this 5 from both sides, I wind up with y is 1. So that gives me a new point at negative 4, 1. That is the other endpoint of that line segment. With that example I just worked, try this find the other endpoint problem. And then come back and check your answer. Here's the answer to that second problem about finding an endpoint given one endpoint and a midpoint. Now that's using this midpoint formula right here, where we just count this second x and y as the point that we're looking for. We're looking for this x2, y2 point, because we're given the x1, y1, and we're given this midpoint. So we're working backwards there to find that x and y of the second point. All right, so your assignment for this lesson is a little lengthy, but it's 18 problems. When you're done with them, turn them in to Ms. Burns. This is what the first of it looks like. Make sure you get your name on it. Make sure you follow the directions. And if you need any help, reach out to me.